sure.
And before the press conferences even start. I mean, we could talk for 45 minutes just about how atrocious the defense is.
He's just picking the big guys. Jordan Mailata, he's huge. He'll be good later on. Josh Sweat, he's tall as hell and strong. Let's get him. We'll figure him out. It's working.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, as always, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Smash that like button, smash that share button, and let's get started today. Let's make sure you click subscribe on YouTube as well as we continue that road to 500 subscribers on YouTube. And, we are brought to you, as all shows, on DSM Media by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products. Check them out, manscaped.com. Use promo code TRENDING at checkout, name of the show Trending. Get you 20% off, free shipping, and lets them know that I sent you from the show. We got a special guest today as we continue our march towards Sunday, our march towards wild card matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're joined by Conor Myles. He covers the Eagles for Sports Illustrated, also the host of Eagles Unfiltered over on Eagles Maven, one of the great Eagles podcasts there are out there. He hosts that with Ed Kratz. Conor, good morning.
Phil, thanks for having me on, man. And also a great show, Trending in the AM, Mondays through Fridays, 8:30 a.m. I love it, man. That's awesome. That's his own radio show in itself.
Yeah. It's the best way to get your day started, to do a show, then go to work. It teaches you to wake up early as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got to start doing it myself.
Well, you're welcome on the morning show anytime you want to come on and talk football with me. Just tell, for anybody that doesn't know, and I don't know why they wouldn't know who you are, because I've been following you since day one of doing all this. Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and, what you do over there, writing in the podcast and stuff like that.
Right. Just working with, since I've been doing the podcast with Ed Kratz, we've been talking on there multiple times, and he just offered me the opportunity to come write for him for Sports Illustrated, because that's just how podcasting works. Networking opens the doors to opportunities. If anybody's listening, wondering if they're doing the right thing, if they feel like they're stuck, trust me, keep trusting the process like the Sixers did. Sit back, keep podcasting, keep doing what you're doing. The doors will open up. The more consistent you do this, the more opportunities open up, I'll just say, because this industry is there's room for everybody to grow. There's room for everybody to have their own shows, have their own opinions on the Eagles. It does not just have to be the top three people. It doesn't have to be Bleeding Green Nation. It doesn't just have to be WIP. Everybody can do this stuff. Everybody can cover the Eagles. Everybody can podcast, talk about them. Just show some consistency, and like you do, answer people on Twitter, answer people on social media, engage. Don't limit your audience. That's just my recommendation for everybody.
You mentioned the key word, and that's the engage, and I think that's what helps set people apart. Like you said, it's flooded. There's lots of people doing it, but people want to be engaged. People don't want to have to listen to Sports or WIP or the Fanatic to be engaged anymore. They want to be engaged by anybody. So, I think that's the number one thing right there is, like you said, keep that grind going, because it takes a lot of hard work and all. But on the flip side, you got to engage people. You want people crave that interaction, especially now with the way the world is. People want interaction with other people, whether it's online or on social media or whatever it is, or on one of these shows. They just love that interaction.
Well, yeah, and we live in a world where these guys act smug or act like they are, above the fans, and that's wrong. The fans are the reason why we are employed, or we get to do this stuff. Without their views, we're nothing. So it's really important to engage and keep your followers liking you. I mean, that's all I can say, because you know how much hate the talk show radio gets, and it's deservingly so. But a lot of those hosts act like they're better than the fans, and that's just absolutely incorrect.
I don't know if you can see the screen right now, but Scotty's checking. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah.
Technically, yes, it is. It is a little too early.
Let me tell you, we started this morning show I started doing this in early November, and those first couple weeks, man, it was tough waking up at 7 a.m. every single day to get myself prepped, get myself ready for work, then come in and do it. Yeah, it is not easy at all. But you know what?
That's passion.
Dude, like I said, like after I got past that waking up early part, man, it's a great way to start the day. Only downside is now I feel like a 70-year-old man because I go to bed at like 10:30 every day now.
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah, probably. All right, so let's get right into it. So Eagles Buccaneers. It's Sunday. I want to pick up where I left off yesterday. And when I was doing my show yesterday, the last topic I discussed, and I ran out of time, so we didn't really get into it too much on my show yesterday. So I'm gonna throw it to you to start. Is the topic that the Week 6 Eagles and the Week 6 Buccaneers are completely different teams than they are right now going into the wild card weekend. So your thoughts on, is the Eagles team that much different than they were in Week 6 on the field, off the field, and how much that could play a factor into the results or however it plays out this weekend?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody knows the philosophy of the Eagles completely changed from wanting to see Jalen Hurts as a passer to evolving into using his legs as their best asset. But the biggest, biggest missing piece the Eagles had that game that everybody likes to overlook, it was Lane Johnson didn't play. You put Jordan Mailata at right tackle where he's not really comfortable at, and then you had Andre Dillard starting, who is a good backup, but I mean, again, he has his struggles as a starter. That's huge. I mean, this team is built around their offensive line. This team is built through the trenches, and if you don't have Lane Johnson out there, you're arguably one of the most important key components of that offensive line, you're going to struggle, and that's what happened. So Lane Johnson's going to be out there this week. Jordan Mailata's back at left tackle where he belongs. The Buccaneers, Jason Pierre-Paul's banged up. They do have Joe Tyron. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his other part of his last name, but they do have him in the draft. He's looked very good for them. That is going to be a threat. And Shaquille Barrett's always going to be Shaquille Barrett, but they're banged up front. Levante David's come back from injury. They have not been good against the run since he's been out. I know Vita Vea is the best nose tackle in the league by far. Probably the best run stuffing interior defensive lineman in the league also. But Levante David is what really is the heart and soul of that defense, and he is what makes that run game. Makes their run defense the top in the league. Since he's been out, they've been in the middle of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I was going to bring that up. It's such a total. I mean, right now, overall for the whole entire season, they're ranked as the third best run defense, 92.5 yards per game. But it's the tale of two different halves. When we played them in Week 6, they were the number one rush team, and it's just slowly been a decline on defense there for the Buccaneers. And it's the injuries, it's the age of some of their guys. Jason Pierre-Paul, Nnamdi Nsu, they're getting older and all. But you cannot just look at the overall big picture. You got to be able to break it down to sections this season. And the latter part of the season, the Buccaneers have not been as good on defense at all.
No, not at all. And I mean, again, injuries have played into it. They haven't had the most talented secondary at all either, especially when you're talking about the safety position. The safety position has been really banged up for them. They even try to sign Richard Sherman and play him there, and that hasn't worked out at all. He's on IR. So this is a game where the Eagles can definitely take advantage on the ground. This team is now beatable on the ground, given the last couple of weeks, and especially with David still on the mend. I know he's back, but he's going to still be on the mend. But again, this is where I want to see Jalen Hurts trust his arm. These last couple of weeks, he's made some incredible throws where he would usually just run and make a run for it. The most notable one was that Greg Ward pass versus Washington, where he's scrambling around the pocket, rolls to his right, then makes that incredible pass to Greg Ward. Normally those plays he would run. That's the difference between Jalen Hurts the first time the Buccaneers played him, the difference of now. And this is a secondary that you can definitely take advantage of, especially with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. This is a game where I really want to see him trust himself, trust what he's seeing, trust your arm, because you can make plays in the secondary.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, the confidence level, and I've been talking about it for like 2 or 3 weeks now on the morning show. You've slowly seen the last couple of weeks. I know the slow start narrative and all that stuff, but you're starting to see a different confident, Jalen Hurts, and just trusting his arm, trusting his talent that he has, trusting his players around him. And we all know there's reason for him not to trust some of his players. Some of the wide receivers, have given him reasons not to trust him. But he's trusting in himself and he's trusting in the system. And there's just a different confidence when he lets go of that ball right now. And you bring up the Greg Ward touchdown pass. Everybody watching the show knows how much I just love Greg Ward, and that is total sarcasm. You can't see my face right now. I don't know. But, it's just a totally different player right now. If only Hurts, George checking in, if only Hurts would look to his left. Yeah, I mean, but he's getting there. He's getting there, George. Again, he has definitely matured a lot.
I wish he had some productivity on the left.
Yeah, that's a great response to that. Having Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins as your number 2 and 3 wide receiver does not help. I mean, you got to really, like, we've talked for a long time on a lot of different shows that is Jalen Hurts the guy going forward and stuff like that. But you got to give Jalen Hurts talent around him to make sure if he is the guy or not. And you can't blame Jalen Hurts for everything when Jalen Reagor is his number 2 option. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, to your point too, the confidence in him that we've been seeing week in and week out that's improving is because I feel like he finally feels like this is his team. This was always supposed to be a transition year, figuring out if he's the guy. The confidence in him is growing because I feel like he feels that this is my team. I am this team's quarterback. Let's keep going.
So my man George here, he checks in every morning show here. He's saying that they're not looking to the left. They always line up Devontae Smith on the right for a reason. Is there any thought on that maybe he doesn't like throwing to the left because they could technically swing Smith over to the left and all? I don't know if we're just pulling hairs here or not on that one, but he's saying that they always line Devontae up on the right because that's Jalen Hurts' most comfortable side.
I mean, I could go back and watch his Buccaneers game multiple times and see Jalen Reagor run up on the right, and he's beating his corner downfield for being wide open, and Jalen Hurts is refusing to throw to that side still. I just think it's the talent. I know that his point is correct, but Devontae Smith is really their X receiver, so you want to put him in his best position to succeed on the field. And yes, Jalen Hurts is definitely still working through his field progression, still working through seeing the field, his vision and whatnot, but these calls for concerns for his not being able to throw to the middle of the field and not being able to throw to the left side of the field. I mean, again, this guy is the most raw quarterback prospect this team has ever dealt with. That's what we all like to forget that. I mean, the guy at Alabama was a completely different quarterback than what he is now. Even in Oklahoma, I mean, that was his first real year of true quarterback play was with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma.
Right.
Who tapped into that potential. The Eagles are still trying to figure it out, too. This guy's had a different offensive coach every single year he's played football from Alabama to now. It's a work in progress. It is. It's always going to be a work in progress. Carson Wentz had his struggles, too, when he came out his rookie year. He would lock on one read. And we all like to forget, when Carson Wentz was the first-time starter for this team, he would only lock on one read and make that one read. It's a tough transition from college to the NFL, and he's still developing. I mean, the guy's going to be fine, I think.
No, I mean, that's fair. So actually, before I was going to go to another topic, but we're talking Jalen Hurts here. So yesterday on the show, I brought up the topic. I was ranking the 12 quarterbacks. I was trying to get a judge of what everybody thought of Jalen Hurts this weekend. So I was ranking the 12 quarterbacks playing this weekend, just this weekend in the wild card round, and trying to find out where everybody would put Jalen Hurts in the conversation with the other 12 quarterbacks just this week in this one game, but then also, a second list of, where you would rank them going forward if you had to build a team for the next, 4 years or so. So I put together a list here, and you said you could see the screen, right?
Yeah, I see the screen, yep.
All right, so this weekend alone, I have Jalen Hurts ranked as just a one-off game as the 8th best quarterback playing this weekend, with Ben Roethlisberger, obviously, Mac Jones, Carr, and Jimmy G below him. Do you think that's a fair place to rank him this weekend, or would you rank him, a little bit higher in there?
No, that's very fair. I think that's actually kind of generous, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah, I got some people saying that Derek Carr should have been ranked ahead of him as well this weekend.
Derek Carr, I would agree. And then, I mean, Mac Jones didn't light the world on fire stats-wise, but what he did with the Patriots and Josh McDaniels' system is notable for a rookie, to be honest with you. It is hard to pick up that system and be productive. I know Cam Newton is a wash of his former self, but I mean, Cam Newton couldn't even pick up that system the way Mac Jones did. He's very intelligent, but I don't know if I'm going to put him over Jalen Hurts either, though, because I mean, what Jalen Hurts had to do to lead his team to the playoffs, I think, is a little harder than what Mac Jones had to do. So I think this is fair where you put Jalen Hurts for sure. I would put Derek Carr a little bit higher, but I mean, you could definitely make a case for 8 and 9 for sure for Jalen Hurts. A very strong case.
Yeah. So then going forward, though, because I mean, I don't like to focus too much on the offseason, especially in the future when we're in the playoffs. But just to compare it, I put him at the 6th out of these 12 quarterbacks if I was building a franchise for the next 4 years. Do you think that's a stretch?
Tom Brady is father time.
I mean, that's why he's not number 11.
If I'm thinking the next 4 years, I don't know if I could even leave Tom Brady out of my next 4-year projection because he's
I know,
falling
it's so difficult.
But, I would definitely take him over Matt Stafford, though, and I think people think that's crazy, but I mean, Matt Stafford gets your regular season done. Is he going to get your postseason done? That's yet to be seen. But everything else looks good, yes, because Dak is Dak. I know he's having a down year. In his terms, he's having a down year, but statistically, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's top 5 for sure. Kyler Murray, I very like Kyler. His dual threat. Jalen Hurts is going to be a dual threat. Kyler Murray is the dual threat. Once Jalen Hurts develops more as a passer, I think he can become the same kind of player Kyler Murray is in the NFL for sure. But Kyler Murray is the true dual threat, as well as Josh Allen.
So you buy into Kyler Murray? Because I actually thought about
Yes,
bumping Kyler Murray down the list a little bit. I mean, I know they have a really good record, and I know there's been some injuries there. I was trying to debate when I was making this list and the order up, is Kyler Murray the real deal, and he's being hampered by Cliff Kingsbury, who I'm not a fan of?
Yes.
Or is Cliff Kingsbury being hampered because Kyler Murray might not be as good as we all think he is?
No. The first part for sure.
That's the way I was leading for sure.
If the Cardinals lose, they're going to fire Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, I think
he's been pretty disappointing, and I think he is holding Kyler Murray back. Texas Tech from the NFL. I know Cliff Kingsbury had NFL experience with the Patriots system, being a former quarterback in the league, but he's been incredibly disappointing. That team's been incredibly inconsistent, and I think it falls on the coaching for sure. I don't know. Somebody's going to lose their job over there. Either it's going to be Vance Joseph being the scapegoat, or it's going to be Cliff Kingsbury. Something's going to happen if they lose.
No, that's fair. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think the Eagles, some Eagles fans, I mean, now everybody's script has changed because we've made the playoffs, but I don't think, I think some people have overreacted to Jalen Hurts not being the guy, or being the guy that's, just a placeholder because there's no better options going into next season. I think the Eagles are set to at least be confident going forward with Jalen Hurts as their guy for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and seeing how he develops. I mean, people forget that Josh Allen, even in his second year, wasn't really that great. And now Josh Allen, coming into this year, his fourth year, was an MVP, favorite, coming into the season. So sometimes some of these guys need 2-3 years to really develop.
Well, let's not forget, the owner didn't put these expectations on the team anyways.
Yeah.
Because he said this is going to be a transition year. He didn't expect the playoffs. The kid led them to the playoffs with his first-year head coach. I mean, if you don't think that's made waves in the organization, I don't know what to tell you. He gave the owner an opinion of what jerseys they should wear, and he went with it. I mean, they're all in with Jalen Hurts.
Okay. So my man George again checking in, because I love this comment, because he hasn't wavered. He says that he hasn't seen enough to commit to Jalen Hurts long term, but he's in the boat that's saying he'll be the guy next year by default. Whereas I think he's done enough. So George, thinks that this weekend he could change the script, Jalen Hurts. Not necessarily by winning, but his performance in a playoff game against Tom Brady can change people like his opinion. I don't even think he needs to do – I mean, he can have an awful game on Sunday, which I don't think he will, but he can have an awful game on Sunday, and I will still say he's the guy next year more than just by default, just because of what he's done this year. Do you think he has something to prove this weekend?
It's a fair thought, to be honest with you, because if Carson Wentz doesn't leave that playoff game versus Seattle with that concussion, they don't draft Jalen Hurts. So it's a fair thought. It is definitely a fair thought. But again, this team had minimal expectations that he exceeded. It's definitely going to have some weight with that team when they're evaluated at the end of the year with Jeffrey Lurie, Harry Roseman, Nick Sirianni sit down. But he owns that locker room. That locker room looks at him as the franchise quarterback. I can't say long term though, because everything is such an ever changing league. We couldn't even say Carson Wentz long term when we thought we could. So
the Colts can't say Carson Wentz long term.
No, they can't either.
Gave it first and third for him.
But to say that he's going to be their starter next year, I think it's pretty obvious. They're not going to use any of these draft picks on a quarterback in the draft. Yep. If it's not going to be Jalen Hurts, it's either going to be Russell Wilson. Yeah. But
are you another one on the Russell Wilson overhype?
No. They need to build around Jalen Hurts.
No. I've been extremely obnoxious on the Russell Wilson talk. Not because I think he should be here or whatnot, but I just think it would be fun. I mean, I obviously I wanted him since day one in Philly, so I'm going to be obnoxious and over the top all off season on that. But it's a pipe dream. It's something that won't happen, and yeah, I wouldn't trade all those draft picks to bring him here anyway.
No, the thing if the Eagles get stuck in this wanting to upgrade a quarterback and they want to go after Russell Wilson and they want to focus on that market or Aaron Rodgers market and all that, they're going to lose. These guys aren't going to want to go there. I'm not trying to, be a negative Nelly or anything. I know the Eagles are in good positions, they're in good graces, but Russell Wilson's probably going to want to go to New York. If he has an option, he's probably going to want to go play for the Giants because he has Sierra, who loves the New York market. He would be huge in the New York market, and Aaron Rodgers. I think if he doesn't go back to Green Bay, I think it's pretty much set in stone he's going to Denver. So don't get involved in this market of guys who don't even want to play for you, or you don't know if they want to play for you when you have a guy who wants to play for you. The locker room loves. And he led you to the playoffs when you didn't even expect it. I mean, the cards are all there for this team to build. Guess when this team won the Super Bowl? Guess when this team was at its best? When they had a rookie quarterback on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
They have a rookie. They have a quarterback on his rookie contract. They can build around him. They can add a Calvin Ridley this offseason. They can go into free agency and sign a big time safety. They can do whatever they can possibly do to build around Jalen Hurts with the cap availability that they have, given that they don't have to pay him that much.
Yeah, no, everything you say there is 110% accurate. But that's off season. That's next year. Let's focus. Let's get back to focusing on this week, because that's actually what's most matter. I mean, we're Eagles fans by that we want to win. And I keep studying the first game, like the box scores and the highlights from the game and the game replay on the game, and we talk about having to run the ball against this team. We talk about, Jalen Hurts, against the Buccaneers defense. But I really don't even think that that's the number one key to the game. I think the number one key to the game is our defense. And, if you go back to the last game, there's one stat that sticks out that cannot happen again, and it's total plays. The Buccaneers ran 73 plays compared to our 47 plays. And that translates into a 40-20 time of possession. And that just comes down to our defense not being able to stop or slow down Tom Brady and the Buccaneers offense. Even if we play that soft zone defense, cover two, where they just dink and dunk, that it boggled my mind when I keep re-seeing that 74-43 number there. And to me, that's the crux of the game right there. 110%.
Oh, absolutely. And then the fact that Tom Brady's jersey was completely white that game. The defensive line never hit home. They didn't put any pressure on him. Again, Jonathan Gannon played to Tom Brady's strengths. He's not a guy who's going to throw all over the field, throw a bunch of deep passes. He wants to take what the defense gives him each and every time, and that's what Jonathan Gannon did the whole entire game. And you can easily do that when you play soft coverage and you don't get the defensive line home at all. They need Josh Sweat to step up. I know he just had an illness and missed practice, but they need a big game from Josh Sweat this week. They need him to They need him to take Donovan Smith to school. They need him to get some pressure on Tom Brady. And again, Javon Hargrave, and Fletcher Cox, who, again, I think Fletcher Cox has played his best football this season the last 4 weeks of the year. They really, really need their highest player to play like their highest player this weekend. They need to get after Tom Brady and make him feel uncomfortable.
Do you think, Scotty checking in, Scotty Drown from Team DSM, saying, do you think Gannon switches it up and lets the defense loose a little bit, gets more aggressive, or do you think he's just going to continue going with what he's done all year long?
I would expect what he's done all year long, to be honest with you, because he hasn't changed. If there's any week to flip on a dime now, it's going to be this week. Leonard Fournette's packed, but he's banged up. They have Le'Veon Bell they're relying on, who wants to fight Jake Paul right now. They have.
Hold on, can we go off on a second here? What is with former NFL running backs wanting to fight in boxing right now? Did they not take a pounding, running the football? These guys. I just don't get that. I just don't see it at all.
I had so much respect for Frank Gore, wanting to continue his NFL career, playing until he literally was about to die, and then he goes and does this fight. It's come on, man. But
Yeah, I won't ever pay to watch one of those fights. I'm just saying. I have no desire to watch Jake Paul fight a former football player. I just don't.
No, and especially with all these illegal streams nowadays. No, I'm not paying for that. But
Absolutely.
the Buccaneers have Vaughn, who Chris Vaughn or James Vaughn has stepped up for them. They got from Vanderbilt a couple years ago in the draft. He's stepped up for them as of late. He was disappointing at first, but ever since they signed Le'Veon Bell, he's taken it as a disrespect, and he has stepped up for them as of late. But again, this running game is really not what it used to be with Fournette leading the charge earlier in the season. He's going to be banged up. I think that helps the Eagles a lot because Tom Brady does lean on the ground support. He always had that type of in his back pocket. In New England, he always had a strong run game. Buccaneers were trying to figure it out last year. Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette wasn't that strong, but it was good enough for them to win a Super Bowl. Way stronger this year until Fournette started to get banged up. But the best thing for the Eagles is there's no Antonio Brown this game.
Yeah,
I think that's what's huge for the Eagles. I mean, Antonio Brown had 10 receptions for 100 yards the last time the Eagles played. He was their best wide receiver this season, if you ask me. So not having him, not having Godwin out there, having Slay, who's taking away one side of the field as is, pretty much going to shadow Mike Evans, I believe. I think Jonathan Gannon will actually adjust to that and let Slay shadow Mike Evans because Seal Grayson's not going to play. That's the other wide receiver that's stepped up since Antonio Brown's been out. They have Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller has some speed, but I'm not really concerned about him too much. I mean, again, he was at the bottom of the
He hasn't been involved at all this year, Scotty Miller. I think he's got 5 catches this entire season.
They're going to ask him to step up because he has to in this postseason. But
hey, we all know Chris Hogan stepped up against the Eagles in the playoffs one time, so I guess Scotty Miller could.
Well, the way Avonte Maddox is playing, and Steven Nelson's been their worst corner, but I mean, in terms of cornerback 2 play, he's been great. From what the Eagles have been rolling out there year in and year out, he's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're talking about all those guys, but I've been preaching that if we're not going to get pressure, or even if we do get pressure, that it's still the tight ends that give me the most fear on the Buccaneers offense. Obviously, Rob Gronkowski, one of the greatest of all time. Dallas Goedert just was praising him the other day in his press conference, and how he tried to emulate him in college and stuff like that. But they also have 2 other tight ends that on most other given teams, Cameron Brate and OJ Howard start for other teams, and they're their second and third option at tight end. And I still have, especially if we're not getting pressure, on Tom Brady, I have zero confidence that our linebackers, safeties, who on our team can rightfully cover Rob Gronkowski?
There isn't. I'm just going to be honest. He didn't play the last time the Eagles played the Buccaneers.
But OJ Howard still had 6 catches. Cameron Brate
there were
still 9 catches from the tight ends in that game.
And then, the last time the Eagles played Robert Gronkowski, he had 9 catches for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that was the Super Bowl. So again, different team, same quarterback. It's going to be tough. I think that's going to be the one weakness that they have this game. That's going to be the one thing that the Buccaneers get on this Eagles defense is the connection between Brady and Gronkowski. I don't think it's going to be able to be stopped by this Eagles team. I mean, you're hoping your safeties. I mean, Ronnie McLeod has made some big plays the last couple of weeks, but to say he's the same player he's always been would be incorrect, I think. And then Anthony Harris has been somewhat of a disappointment. I know he's been a lot better considering what he was when the first couple of weeks of the season. But again, he hasn't been good either. They're going to need to start over at safety this offseason, but especially linebacker too. The best thing about this linebacker unit is the best linebacker they have is TJ Edwards, and he didn't even start that game. He's finally become the starter of this team, and he's been playing a lot better for that position. But again, it's still a huge glaring weakness. They just don't have the personnel.
I hate to say it. I mean, TJ Edwards has stepped up, and he's played well since he's been put in the starting lineup. But still, is TJ Edwards the 3rd best linebacker on other teams?
Oh yeah,
on other absolutely. Good teams. You think so? See, I don't have. I think that sometimes we see some good in a player, so we overvalue them and think they're great when really they're just okay. There's a lot of Alex Singleton hype, and at the end of last year, at parts this year, and again, he's just a guy that he's okay, but it just looks good because we've been so deprived of really good linebacker play since probably back to Jeremiah Trotter. The last time we had a real elite linebacker. So we try and grasp on the little bit we see, and sometimes we overblow it a little bit.
Oh yeah, we definitely do. But I mean, if Jonathan Gannon's to be the defensive coordinator next year, which I fully expect him to, you go into this offseason and you finally devote resources at linebacker because this defense is predicated on linebackers being able to cover sideline to sideline, and they don't have that. So you're going to have to go in this offseason. You're going to have to go to free agency. You're going to have to pay a linebacker. You're finally going to have to do it. I don't think they're going to draft one in round one, as everybody else thinks, but they're going to have to pay one in free agency.
Yeah, I also don't think they draft one in the first round either. It's just not. I actually have said multiple times that they will probably draft a wide receiver in the first round. I don't want them to. I don't think they should. But I just look at track records, and Howie Roseman's track record and trend is that he loves to spend early, first or second round, on wide receivers, on tackles, on offense and defense. Like you could just see it, what they do. So they got all this money. They're going to spend the money on linebacker in free agency or later draft picks. And, we still need more wide receivers. He might sign or trade for Calvin Ridley, but I could see them. I know it sounds stupid, but I could still see him drafting a wide receiver.
No, it doesn't sound stupid because you look at this team. They're not going to be paying Andre Dillard a second contract.
Right.
They're not going to be giving J.J. Arcega-Whiteside a second contract. I think it's pretty obvious they're not going to give Jalen Reagor a second contract now either. So that's
Jalen Reagor will be on this team next year. I guarantee it.
That he won't.
He will be. I guarantee it. 100. I called at the end of last season that J-Jaw would still be on this team this year. Howie Roseman does not give up on top draft picks until after their third season. He never does. So Jalen Reagor will, unless somebody blows him away or it's part of a Calvin Ridley trade or something like that.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, unless he's part of a major trade package, there's no way Jalen Reagor is not on this team next year.
His family's going to want him to. His family's going to push for him to request a trade. That's all I know. But just from knowing his family, they're going to push him to request a trade. But I don't know if it's going to happen. The only way I can see it happen is if it's a Calvin Ridley package where they say, we're not going to give you a first for Calvin Ridley. Nobody is. But we'll give you our second round pick. And then here's a guy with potential that could possibly help through your rebuild. We'll see. But anyways, let's get back into the discussion of this. To go to your point about them drafting a wide receiver, they obviously could, because I think what's huge about Devontae Smith is he's signed for 5 years. That fifth-year option matters. But a lot of their rookies that they drafted the last couple of years are not going to be given second contracts to. Like I just mentioned, and Derek Barnett's about to be the next one too. Mm-hmm. So when you think about it, they're going to have all this, money in the future that they're going to have to invest and re-signing their own players. I can definitely see them drafting a wide receiver instead of signing one in free agency to a huge contract, just because it hasn't worked out to them either.
Yep.
I know Alshon Jeffrey worked out for 2 seasons, really, realistically, but they expected long-term. They expected to be him, the wide receiver one long-term for Carson Wentz, and they struggled to replace any type of role that he produced his first 2 seasons with the team. So maybe they'll have buyer's remorse. But the only thing because I don't think they're going to sign a free agent wide receiver. I think if anything, they trade for Calvin Ridley. But I agree with you. If it's not that route, I think they do look into it in the draft. You have 3 first-round picks. You can get wild.
Yeah. You could trade up. You could trade back. You can move them into the future, like some people say. There's so many possibilities having 3 first-round picks. And, depending on how this weekend goes, if we lose this weekend, you got 3 top 20 picks. There are so many options and opportunities there with it that, the sky's the limit there. And I don't know where's that second round pick going to fall, about 50. You're going to have your 4 picks in the top 50, picks in the draft. You can really, really continue the development of this team and that youth movement on this team really, really quickly in this draft.
No, absolutely. This is we always get stuck in comparing these teams to what past Eagles teams. It does have some comparisons to the 2013 Eagles team when Chip Kelly was a rookie head coach, Nick Foles was a second-year starter. It does have some comparisons, but I think what is sustainable is the ground game that Jalen Hurts provides to this team. He leads the Eagles rushing attack. He will always lead the Eagles rushing attack. You have to consider the threat of Jalen Hurts' legs every time you go up against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't think that's ever going to change. I don't think his talent running the ball is ever going to change at all. It just has to develop as a passer so he can be the true dual threat that the Eagles need him to be. But if he's able to continue to lead this rushing attack the way he's able to, it's sustainable. Nick Foles 27-2 was not sustainable. Chip Kelly thinking his philosophy is what made the team successful was not sustainable. So that's not what this team's like this time around. Nick Sirianni changed his philosophy to fit his players. He didn't make his players fit his philosophy. The players did not succeed because of Nick Sirianni's philosophy. They succeeded because he put a system around his players' talents. They have 3 first-round picks to continue transitioning their youth movement with. They didn't have that before. They didn't have that in 2013. So this is a whole different era of Eagles football. This is a whole different team. It's time to not look at them in the same light as we always did.
That's a fantastic way to describe it right there. I haven't heard anybody describe it that way yet, and I love that way of describing it 100%.
Well, we also maybe we can I stop bringing up the past for Howie Roseman and start looking towards the future because
Absolutely.
I hate to break it to everybody, he put this team in the best position going forward that any GM could. Any GM would not be able to. Most GMs are losing their jobs. Justin Jefferson didn't save Rick Spielman. So I mean, look what this guy has done up until now, and look what they're set up for the future. Got to tip your hat to him.
No, I 1,000,000% agree with you. I mean, I used to be one of the biggest anti-Howie guys, but as I sat down this year and really broke it down and looked at his drafts and his trades, honestly, is it crazy to say that actually the thing that Howie's best known for, his cap management, might actually be his weakest part of his job, like or what he does, because he sets us up like this year. We had all this dead cap and untradeable contracts and stuff like that. That actually might be the weakest part of his job right now and how he performs. I mean, he's had really solid drafts. The problem is fans can't get over the 2 or 3 misses because the 2 or 3 misses are so big that they forget about all the other good he has done. The fact that he turned Jalen Waddle into Devontae Smith in a first-round pick, I mean, it gets a lot of praise, but doesn't get even remotely enough praise because it's an amazing move he made there. He just makes great moves over and over again. And that Jalen Reagor miss, that Arcega-Whiteside miss, they just overshadow everything, and it's a shame.
Jeffrey Lurie had more say in the J.D. Arcega-Whiteside miss than Harry did. But yeah, I know.
But it falls on his draft class.
Yeah, it does, and rightfully so. I'm not sitting here saying you shouldn't blame Harry Roseman, you shouldn't criticize him. You should. Those misses were incredibly bad, but I'm talking about going forward. I'm talking about the now.
Absolutely.
The now he put his team in the best position to succeed now and then the long term. Just hats off to him. Again, it's fair to criticize him. Absolutely fair to criticize him. You're every right to. But I mean, for as much as everybody criticizes him, let's be quick to give him credit too. Again, this team is going to look really good in the upcoming future, especially this offseason. And not only that, Phil, he's going to look incredibly smart in 2 to 3 years when this Carson Wentz saga is all done. He's going to look like a genius at the end of it.
Not done yet because I've completely moved on.
I moved on myself, but I'm saying when this is all said and done and it is time to reflect back on this trade, he's going to look like a genius, and Chris Ballard's going to look like the one that looks silly.
Yeah, which I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the Colts, but I said Jim Irsay, man. I mean, he's got his hands full in Indy right now. What to do, whether you blame Reich, whether you blame Ballard, whether you blame Carson. I mean, I would not want to be Jim Irsay and a guy that's known to have such a huge personality and so open with the fans on a regular basis. Yeah, that's got to be one of the most awkward situations right now and tough.
Imagine Carson. Imagine Carson. He's walking on eggshells now. I mean, he went from a locker room where he didn't feel wanted anymore, and now he's in a locker room where he doesn't feel like he might not feel like he's the guy again. Like for the second time, because again, there was a tough sell on Jim Irsay to do this trade for Carson Wentz. So I don't know if that's widely reported as it should be, but it was. Frank Reich had to go.
Do you know who pushed for that? Because that was Reich. It was Reich, not Ballard, right?
It was not Ballard, not at all. This is Frank Reich. This is all I move on Frank Reich, but Frank Reich had to go in Jim Irsay's office and really, really convince him that this is the move because they didn't want to give up a first-round pick for a quarter. I don't blame them. It was a bad trade. This is a Sam Bradford trade all over again. If you ever trade for a quarterback who struggled mightily the year prior and was benched, you don't give up a first-round pick for him. I'm sorry, you don't. I don't care what conditions they put on it. The conditions were easily attainable. You don't trade a first-round pick for that type of quarterback. Like I don't know. Again, Spielman's out of a job, not only just because the Vikings' shortcomings, but that Sam Bradford trade definitely went to the evaluation because that was a huge whiff and it set the team back a little bit. It's going to be the same evaluation for the Colts if they don't continue being successful going forward. I know Chris Ballard's a really good GM. I do think that, but this move was tied to Frank Reich. If it doesn't work out, Frank Reich's going to lose a job. He's not going to be a head coach anymore either.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, back to the Eagles. So, one final, part that I want to get your opinion on. And, we've talked about, Nick Sirianni and, his progression, how he's not putting round holes into square pegs. But he does have one glaring weakness, and it's the slow starts. There's all different reasons. Some of the slow starts, against Washington, that interception off of Goddard's toenail, whatever you want to say. I mean, some of that's just freak, things that are happening there. But it is a consistent theme. Can he flip the script right away against Tampa? Is there a way to do that? Because, let's be honest, if they have these slow starts that they've been having, we're not going to be down 10-0 at the end of the first or second quarter. We're going to be down 21-0, 24-7, something like that, which is an unattainable, comeback, with a young team like this. Hey, what's causing this? Is it just he can't get off his pre-scripted plays to start a game? And can he, in such a short period of time, flip that script?
I don't know if I can even fully blame him too, because this has been a constant theme with this team the last 3 years. Is they
Fair.
start off the first half incredibly slow, but I mean, and the personnel has changed. This is a different quarterback. This is really different wide receivers. Different. The only thing that stays the same is really Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson through it all.
Right.
I don't know what it is with this team in this slow start. I really don't. I can't put my finger on it. Again, it is coaching. Is the easiest thing to blame right off the bat. But again, this has been a theme under Doug Peterson too. They can't afford a slow start against Tom Brady. They just can't. Like you said, they'll go up on you by 3 scores and then it's over. You can't come back from that against Tom Brady. But how to get rid of the slow start is to stick with what you do best. His scripts, his opening scripts may be the issue. I don't know for a fact, to be honest with you, because again, like I'm saying, this has been a theme the last couple of years with this team is the slow starts. So
honestly, I mean, somebody brought that up that he scripts the plays. I haven't actually seen too many people in the media talk about, if he scripts the first 15, 30 plays, whatever it is. I haven't even seen much talk about that, but it seems to be what, a lot of the conversation that, other listeners are telling me. And, if he's so good at, just going with what works, why does he not go with it right from the get? I mean, 2 games ago, it was, what did he run against Washington when we fell behind? I think it was like 7 of the first 8 plays were pass plays. Why would you come out doing that? So to me, it's like, I can't figure out and quite put my finger on why his game plan in the first quarter is so different from what it is the rest of the game.
Well, you don't want to be predictable. So I respect it. You don't want to be predictable. You want to switch it up and want to, keep your opponent on his heels. But I think also the personnel does matter because when you're talking about that Washington game, his Boston Scott and Jordan Howard was banged up with the stinger still. I do think that does matter a little bit, the personnel wise. But the scripted plays part of it, every coach has a game plan of what they're going to attack and how they're going to attack. Whether they bail on it early or they keep continuing with it is a complete coaching decision. That's a week in and week out decision. I can't honestly say that he's scripting every single play to start the first half. I don't know how many plays are scripted. I don't. Coach is not going to tell you that. He's not going to want to give that information away anyways and make it be known. But with Miles Sanders being back, I know the hand's going to be banged up. It's still going to be on the men. But with him being back, Jalen being way more comfortable because again he's back to he announced it to himself yesterday. Him resting Jalen Hurts helped him be almost back to 100%. So to have that confidence in Jalen Hurts 100% again, to be able to use his legs on the rushing ability, having Miles Sanders back, I don't necessarily foresee a slow start. I think they do what they do best. They start pounding the ball against the Buccaneers, and then they start dicing them up a little bit. I think they are going to throw a little bit. When he gets to third downs, I think Jalen Hurts is going to trust his arm a little bit more than he does his legs, and I think it's going to help. I don't think it's going to be a slow start this one for some reason. I'm pretty confident they're going to start pretty strong.
I love that confidence, and we did see Miles Sanders practice limited yesterday. Are you confident that Miles Sanders will be good to go on Sunday?
I think he'll be good to go, but I think he'll be on a snap count.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to see
that
a full
rotation
load
going between him, Howard, Scott, Gainwell, whoever else may be. By the way, I haven't brought it up this week on the show on any of my morning shows, but major applause. I don't know if my sound effects are working today. No, maybe they are. Major applause for Jason Huntley. taking the ball literally and figuratively and running with it on Saturday night. And, now he is actually part of the active roster for the playoffs. He's a guy that, we've struggled with kick returns. He showed a little bit of a burst. I love seeing the underdog story work. And Jason Huntley, who's been on a practice squad for 2 years, got one opportunity and literally ran with it. It's fantastic. And I love seeing that from players.
It's crazy. He was a fifth-round pick for the Lions. Yep. It's not like this guy's some scrub. He was drafted the same round as Kenny Gainwell was drafted in. I mean, he's a good player. He is a good player. He has a role in this team going forward. Nick Sirianni said earlier in the week that he's going to probably be inactive. So I don't know what.
Okay. Yeah, so I was really hoping they'd activate him as the kick returner. I know kick returning.
That changed. Again, this is Monday. This is Monday when Sirianni said this. He has a whole week of practice to look at him, and that could change. But I think elevating Huntley was an emergency move in case Sanders can't go. Because again, Huntley has an elusive side to him that they'll have to lean on, because that's the thing that they missed the most about Miles Sanders being out, is that Boston Scott and Jordan Howard are pretty similar runners.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get the short yardage. They'll go right up inside the zone. They'll go right up the gut, and they'll get the hard, tough yards. But they won't bounce to the outside. They won't be elusive guys like Sanders and Gainwell can be. I'm going to be honest with you. I think we're going to see a lot more Kenny Gainwell this week.
Okay.
He did show a lot. And I know, again, it was against – it was mostly against the Cowboys starters. He showed some –
They're missing a couple guys, Micah Parsons, but they had most of their starters out there for a while.
And, and there's the Eagles' backup offense. Not even backup. It was like their third-string offensive line mostly out there, too. And Kenny Gainwell showed some really noticeable juice. He was really good on the ground, too. I think they're going to mix him in a lot more than we've seen before, especially because Jordan Howard's still on
had an interesting season. He had some opportunities early. Later, middle of the season, he kind of lost his spot in the rotation. He's back. I mean, we got to remember. I mean, he didn't really play football last year. He was he sat out last year. And rookie running backs. There's a lot to learn as a rookie running back to gain trust in coaches, because you got to be able to pick up blitzes and stuff like that. Kenny Gainwell, in my opinion, is probably right there with Miles Sanders. I'm in the thought process that Miles Sanders won't be here long term, and that Kenny Gainwell will be the main starting running back here, whether it's next year or 2 years from now.
It could happen for sure, because as of right now, Miles Sanders hasn't earned a second contract with this team as of right now. And that could change next year for sure, but I mean, as of right now, it hasn't happened, so it's easy to say that now. Kenny Gainwell definitely has some serious rushing potential. I know we all focus on the receiver he could be. When they drafted him, though, the vision really was, this could be our next nine. This could be my Naheem Hines for Nick Sirianni. So, and like you said, he was out of football last year. This transition from Memphis to the NFL after you're missing a full year of football was not the easiest. And especially in a crowded running back room where Jordan Howard was averaging 63 yards per game, Miles Sanders was doing his thing when he was healthy. Boston Scott is a trusted veteran on this team. It's not easy to crack that rotation given those prospects, but Kenny Gainwell definitely has some Brian Westbrook to him. Again, Brian Westbrook had to wait in the rings until Deuce Staley left in free agency and Cordell Buckalter's injuries overpowered what he could possibly be, and then he became the guy for this team. I think the same could happen to Kenny Gainwell easily, for sure.
Well, let's wrap it up here. You don't have to give a prediction I'm not sure if you're a prediction kind of guy, but how do you see the game playing out, and do the Eagles stand a chance this weekend?
Oh, yeah, it's going to come down to the wire. That game's going to come down to the wire. For everybody who's stuck on, they're playing Tom Brady, they're playing the reigning champs, I get it. But that is last season. That is not this year's Buccaneers team. This year's Buccaneers team is not a Super Bowl team. They're not going. I mean, I don't want to boldly say that because it is Tom Brady, but I don't believe this Buccaneers team is talented enough to take on the Green Bay Packers and the Los Angeles Rams in the playoffs. I don't truly believe that. So if I don't truly believe that, then I do believe that team is beatable, and I do believe the Eagles can beat them, and they match up with them extremely well, given their recent struggles on the ground with Lavonte David being banged up and so on and so forth. I think this game comes down to the wire. My prediction is going to be I'm going to give a score prediction. I'm not going to give a who wins prediction because I do think the game can go either way. I think the Eagles can win this game. I'm strangely confident that they can win this game, but I think it's going to come down to 27-24. Whoever wins gets the last second field goal. And I think, if I had to pick a kicker I'm more confident in this matchup, it's going to be Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott is 90% this year. Ryan Suckup is a decent kicker, but not great. If it comes down to a kicker winning the game, it's going to be Jake Elliott for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the close game. So I don't know if you're you're down in Florida, so you can't actually legally bet down there. I'm not sure if you, I don't know if you do on any off sites or anything, but I love betting and I love tracking lines. My rule of thumb is I don't bet Eagles. It's just against my rules to bet your favorite team, your hometown team, but I still track the lines. And the fact that the line has moved down, up so much tells me that bettors have no idea, which kind of gives me the impression that the Eagles, without a doubt are going to cover. I don't know what it's at this morning. I know it dropped to 8.5 yesterday at one point. It's been as low as 7. It's been as high as 9.5. To me, there's no way that it's not a 7-point or less game. And then it's just going to come down to the wire. Does Tom Brady's experience out trump Jalen Hurts' youthful energy or not? And that's what it's going to come down to. And I don't know. Maybe I have a bold, over-the-top, overreaction Monday type take tomorrow when I finally give a prediction. But honestly, at this point, it could literally, like you said, go either way. And I love 27-24. I think it's such a good, guess on how the game plays out.
They just had to put pressure on Tom Brady because I don't think Tom Brady has the guys to help bail him out. This, again, like I said, I hate comparing, but when Tom Brady, his last season in New England, when he lost that wild card round against the Tennessee Titans, you know what? Why he lost that game? Nobody made a play for him.
Yeah.
Nobody made a play for him. Gronk is the only one right now because I think Mike Evans can be taken out of this game by Darius Slay. Gronk is the only one right now that can make a play for him on this offense. And if you can limit Gronk, you can beat the Buccaneers. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to end it with one thing. I've been preaching it all year long. We can't get home and sack a quarterback. Just put your damn arms up in the air and and block those passing lanes. It's something that boggles my mind how these defensive linemen, they know they're not getting home and they just lower their arms right before the pass. Ryan Kerrigan did it in the last game against Washington. Literally, right before Tyler Heineke went to throw a pass, he lowered his hands. Dude, just put your hands up. It makes a difference. If you can't get home, just put your hands up, and it'll make a difference.
Man.
I've been so frustrated with that. I think I've counted 3 batted balls the Eagles defensive line has had all season, and that's just totally a ballpark. But man, it might not even be that much.
The crazy thing is, and I'm definitely at fault for it too. The hype Jonathan Gannon got this offseason was too much, way too much, over the top, and I'm at fault. Yeah, my bad too. I wrote a lot about him.
Dude, I have some bold, over the top takes on Jonathan Gannon, but we're just about out of time here. We'll have to save that for another episode here.
Well, not only that, I mean, just to end it real quick, I was always relieved thinking, I was like, I did love Jim Schwartz. I know a lot of people were tired of Jim Schwartz, but I did like him a lot. But I was like, no matter what, the defensive coordinator is inheriting a very talented defensive line. There's no way they're going to get worse. They got worse. How did they get worse? How did they not get home to the quarterback? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Real quick, I do want to say that my man Jason Voorhees, he's my part-time co-host on this morning show. He's recovering. He's on the health and safety protocols list right now. He wanted me to make sure he said hi to you because he's
Jason, get better, my man. I love Jason, man. Get better.
Jason's
I'm sorry to hear that, bro.
Yeah, man. He is so disappointed that he's missing Eagles Buccaneers week on the show. I'm hoping he's back tomorrow here in Trending the AM, 8:30 a.m. every Monday through Friday on DSM Media. I got JC Allen. He covers the Buccaneers for the Pewter Report. He'll be coming on tomorrow morning. Get a little the enemy perspective as we get set to make our predictions for the game this weekend. Hey, Connor, thank you very much for coming on. Again, Conor Myles, at Conor Myles SI, covers the Eagles for Sports Illustrated. He's got Eagles Unfiltered podcast with Ed Kratz. Man, I greatly appreciate your time this morning.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on, Phil.
Thank you very much. And everybody have a great Thursday and go Birds.
Go Birds.